Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We are continuing our run in the reading order of the X universe. I do have a playlist under X-Men. And we are going to be looking at today Uncanny X-Men 158 from 1982. Everything is going to be posted in reading order, so there will actually come a time when we may have some modern issues, but they're written to take place during certain eras. So just know that this is all going to be, like I said, done in reading order. Great cover by Dave Cockrum. I actually like it more than the Mike Mignola cover. We got The Return of Rogue. I have covered her first appearance. As I mentioned, I have a playlist, Avengers Annual number 10. Could have been 10, could be 9. Which I have on the playlist as she punches Wolverine. I love this cover. I think it is fantastic. As I mentioned, it's better than the one by Mike Mignola, who does a good job, but I think the Cockrum one actually, I just think it looks better. So we still don't have Tom Orzechowski. So, Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum with Bob Wyatt check. All right. The Life That Late I Led. Oh, goodness gracious. So we're in Magneto's old headquarters. Okay, because remember, the X-Mansion was destroyed. So the X-Men and the Starjammers are in Magneto's old headquarters in the Bermuda Triangle, as Chris Claremont says. And we got kind of like a sparring session. Sort of like what would have been the Danger Room here. So Chad says, I'd hope for a pleasant, albeit minor, morning diversion. And this thing is just saying something here, but here's Epsala, Raza, and then this is Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel at that time. So, and Raza's like, by the Black Nebula. And so Chad continues, but the duel is turning out splendidly. And Raza says, easy for thou to say, Lummox. She hasn't thrown thee yet. That hurt. And so you can see, Hepzibah saying, missed. And Carol Danvers says, how about that? Losing your touch, Hepzibah. So, and then here's Peter Corbeau right here in the background. And she hits, and Hepzibah hits her, says, no. And Corbeau says, fascinating. That was a heavy hit. Carol had no opportunity to roll with it, yet her body handled it just fine. Carol's bio readings are incredible, and her performance superb. She should have been slaughtered long ago, yet she actually has a chance of winning. And so Chad says, playtime's over, little beauty. So and so they all go after her, but you can see her kind of trying to get away, but Raza does catch her here. And so, superb effort. Sun hair impressed even me. Sun hair, she means blonde. Aye, dost thou yield? And she says, do I have a choice? Not if you want to get up. So, she says, Finks. And look at the this creature here. Hiya, toots. All right. So here's Peter and Ilyana, who's still there, and so he's showing him the videos, and he says, "Those are Martians, little snowflake." And Ilyana's like, "Ick." And Kitty Pryde says, "Peter's doing real well. He should be his old self in no time. I guess it shouldn't be surprised. We mutants seem to be pretty tough breed considering the X-Men's line of work. We have to be, thinks Kitty. So, I know I always say this, but these are thought balloons. So everything you see here, kind of like this, is being thought out. So, and so Kitty continues thinking here. It seems like I joined this team only yesterday, yet I fought demons, supervillains, aliens. I've seen myself die violent, horribly. I've almost died myself more than once. If I had any smarts, I'd chuck this and go back to living a normal life. But I'm not normal. None of us are, and our powers give us special responsibilities. I wonder now if they give us special feelings too. When I saw Colossus killed, I thought I'd die myself. I'd never felt so hollow and empty, like somebody had ripped out my heart, she says. And then later, when I discovered he was still alive, I felt worse. And so, at first, I couldn't move. He looked so beautiful. I was afraid to do anything, say anything, for fear this would turn out to be a dream. And he disappeared in my arms. Suddenly, I hated being 14 kid. That scared me. 14. He's over, and he's 18 at least 18. So, 4 years difference, but still. Not, yeah, it was a different time. Not that it makes it right, but it was a different time, so. But then I hugged and kissed him, taking refuge from emotions, sensations I never experienced and didn't understand, and acting like a kid, and everything was fine. But everything isn't fine. The feelings won't go away. They won't even settle down. I wish I could talk to someone about this, but the professor's sick, and it's none of that guy's business. That leaves Ororo, but suppose she doesn't understand, she says. And so, here we got Dr. Corbeau, and everyone's sweating from the workout. Has thou completed thy evaluation of our sparring partner, Scholar Corbeau?
I didn't catch that.
And so, looks like I got my iPhone. I don't know, for some reasons, Siri responded. So go figure. Anyway, Miss Marvel says, "Yeah, Peter, the suspense is murder. What's the verdict?" And Peter Corbeau says, "Extraordinary. Years ago, when you were transformed into Miss Marvel, your genetic structure was irrevocably altered. In addition to gaining superpowers, you were evolved into the perfect physical specimen of humanity. You may have been stripped of those powers, but the basic genetic material and modification remain intact." So Chad says, "That explains your superb performance in our duel. You may not be what you were, but you are far superior to an ordinary human." And Miss Marvel says, "I don't feel superior, Chad. I could handle losing my powers. It's the way I lost them. That hurts, even after all these months." And so we got Moira McTaggart here. And she goes, "When you lose someone, that fundamental... when you lose something..." And then she pauses. "Someone, that fundamental, less... Anyway, alas." Oh, I am so sorry. Lass. I was seeing less. So she's saying last. "Anyway hurts." And Miss Marvel says, "Moira, I was observing your workout on the monitors. We'll be reviewing the biotelemetry this evening." "Fine. How's the professor?" asks Miss Marvel. And she says, "No better, no worse. He breathes, his heart beats, his body functions. Beyond that..." And so Nightcrawler teleports. "Dr. McTaggart, Lander sent me for you." "Thank you, Nightcrawler. I'll be there directly." And so they walk in, and of course, here's Wolverine and Storm, Lalandra, and then, what are the Shi'ar? Oracle here. She's from the Imperial Guard. And so Moira McTaggart says, "We're ready as we'll ever be, Oracle. He's all yours." So here, according to Claremont, Oracle is also a telepath and the only one who can save him. So it says here, she has spent a full day in meditation preparing for this ordeal. Her being focused yet totally relaxed. She lets her thoughts fly free. And you can see here, she's over Xavier here. She's using her psi powers. And Lalandra says she will forge a psionic rapport with Charles and then examine him to determine what force struck him down and whether or not the damage can be repaired. It will not be an easy task, my friends, but Oracle is my Empire's premier telepath. If anyone can succeed, it is she. And so I'll continue reading here just because it's most likely important here. For a time, to those watching, nothing much happens. As Oracle picks her way cautiously, carefully, not wanting to harm her patient or herself, into Xavier's mind. And so, then without warning, she is caught in a psychic riptide and tumbled headlong into chaos. In an instant, she dies, 1,000 gruesome deaths, victim of a savage conflict being waged within Xavier's brain. She's assaulted by a myriad of images, real and imagined, unable to tell which is which. She drowns in a maelstrom of agony. So I'll just quit there here. But here we have another. What are they? Brood. We have another brood creature here, which we know if you have already read this, you sort of know. I mean, these comic books are 45 years old, so we're not we're not showing you anything new. So but we know something's gonna be happening between Xavier and the Brood. So here you can see that she's Oracle's being shocked here, and she's kind of going crazy here. And Moira says she's under his control. He's adding his powers to her, using the Cybolt to attack the medical units and himself. Suicide, Charles. I'd not have believed it possible. You are things so hopeless. Wolverine, use your claws to sever the energy link between them. Hurry, man, or it'll be too late. And he says, how am I supposed to? And he goes, hey, I shall get you there, Wolverine. You must do the rest. And so Storm's using her powers of wind to kind of get him through. And Wolverine pops up his claws and cuts it. I don't know how that works, but we'll just go with it. And so I love the magenta being used. So he frees Oracle. So, and here's Nightcrawler kind of using a fire extinguisher. Oh no, the computers are burning. I have an extinguisher on this one. And she says, good, Kurt. A whirlwind vacuum should draw the oxygen from the other fires and suffocate them. And Wolverine's like, okay, Storm. Oh, sorry, I'm okay, Storm. And Lalandra says, as am I, and I think Moira. But what of Oracle and Charles? And Lalandra says, no change. And she thinks here, I thought I had known true love before I met you. I knew nothing. We are sides of the same plane, halves of a greater, frighteningly wonderful whole. With you, I am complete. I know you are with me. Without you, I'm a shadow. I live but do not prosper, and though my days may be long and fruitful, they will forever lack joy. And so Moira goes, easy, lass. You've got a nasty... so you had a nasty shock. And Oracle says, your concern is appreciated but unnecessary. I am well. I wish the same could be said for Xavier. I've never interfaced with such a mind of such deep and complexity, such subtlety. His mental defenses are phenomenal. He has withdrawn deep within himself, Moira. He is at war with himself. I have done my best, but no outside force can aid him. His recovery is completely up to him, says Oracle. And so Kitty comes through because she heard the explosion. And Nightcrawler says, be careful where you face, Catson. Fires are still burning, and many of these electrical systems are still active. And she says, so I see. What happened? Oracle tried to pull the professor out of his coma. And things didn't work out, huh? Says Kitty. And Storm says, you might have said that. And Kitty goes, under the circumstances, I'm not sure if you guys will be interested, but they're talking about the X-Men on TV, says Kitty. And so they're showing what happened between the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants during the Days of Futures Past. And so we get a bit of a recap here. and now we get Senator Kelly. I'm gonna kind of hurry along here. Um, Otherwise, when you read Chris Claremont, he's so verbose. So this guy here is supposed to be Geraldo Rivera. He's interviewing Senator Kelly, and he goes, why are the X-Men not considered heroes? And Senator Kelly says, hey, they destroyed a $200 million building. And so Nightcrawler says that's unfair, and Wolverine says, well, it is how it is, buddy. The senator's mind is made up. So Geraldo Rivera says, in each case, the X-Men fought recognized criminals, and in Washington, they saved you from certain assassination. And Senator Kelly says, well, that's besides the point. Who are the X-Men to take the law into their own hands? He says, too many superpower people are appearing every day, not just in the U.S., but across the globe. But nothing is known about the process that creates them. I like this line here. The guy that plays Geraldo, or he's supposed to be Geraldo. I know that it's not his name, but he says, you seem to be saying that mutants are dangerous simply because they exist. That's an odd position for an avowed civil libertarian such as yourself. And Kelly answers, I can't deny it, but there are certain extraordinary cases that transcend morality. And of course, we use the old trope, national security may be at stake. National security gives the government carte blanche to do whatever the hell it wants. Don't get me into politics. Left, right, doesn't matter. The government is gonna try to fuck you no matter what. Excuse my language. And so Kelly continues, and if they prove to be a threat to the nation and by extension to the world, then regrettably as it may sound, they must be dealt with. So, yeah, things never look good for our dear X-Men. So I'm going to skip this panel. I'm going to go right here. So Moira says this is trouble, she says. When he formed the X-Men, Charles worked with the government. There are computer files on the original team and probably on you, too. We've been lucky and safe so far, but it won't last. The files have to be destroyed before the X-Men security is irrevocably compromised. And Kitty says, no problem. We simply designed an open-ended virus program to erase any and all references to the X-Men and plug it into the central federal data bank. From there, it'll infect the entire system in no time. And Storm says, can you do that, kitten? And Kitty says, the Starjammers can. So, in the meantime, we got Corsair and Cyclops who are going to visit Lorna and Alex. Alex has yet to meet Corsair, that is his dad. And so he knocks on the door, and Scott greets him and lets him know that Corsair is their father. And of course, look at Havoc's face here. So this is the first time they've met. And then here we get exposition as to what happened, but we're going to move on. And so we're in the Pentagon here. And I do apologize. If I just start reading, Claremont's writing so much more. I mean, putting so many words. These videos are lasting about 40 minutes or so. So I'm just trying to do the best I can by letting you get some story without reading everything. So we've got Wolverine, Storm, and Miss Marvel here. And so they're trying to get into the Pentagon here. And so they say, hey, we're getting the metal detectors. And they're like, Storm's like, it's Wolverine. And she's like, Lieutenant, I don't have time for this. We're due to brief the Joint Chiefs. And Wolverine says, I'll clear this up, Colonel. My medic card, mister. Good chunk of my skeleton is metal. Prosthetics, war wounds. And so he thanks them, and the X-Men go in. So, but you know who else is in? Rogue. And so suddenly, they walk in and they bump into each other. And look at this. I love the facial thing, and of course we're gonna get. I have already covered this as I mentioned, and so we're seeing what happened that Rogue absorbed her, and so Rogue of course says, "Get away from me," and pushes Miss Marvel away, and so Storm orders Wolverine to do something about it, and he does. Of course, Rogue is strong and pushes Wolverine aside, and I love the how he lands there. That's pretty cool. And he punches her, but it didn't work. And then, of course, she's gonna take his power and abilities, not permanently, of course, but does it by a big kiss here. So, and Storm hits her from behind, which tears her dress, showing her costume. Speaking of costumes, Storm's in her costume. So, um, uh, Miss Marvel takes the gun away and shoots her, but of course she has the power of Miss Marvel because Miss Marvel no longer has them. Maybe I should just call her Carol. So Rogue just kind of stands there all like ha ha ha, and Storm pushes her away. This is kind of cool. I'm kind of doing what I used to do before I started reading, and maybe I should go back to that with the X-Men particularly. Maybe not with everything, but it's just like I said, Claremont just puts in so many freaking words. So Storm kind of looks at her and thinks here, I know you hate Rogue, Carol, and with good reason. But we came here for the purpose. The future of the X-Men rests in your hands, my friend. Do not fail us. So, um, and so, this guy here says, I heard one of them called the X-Men hit the alert. I want those muties found on the double here. And so, um, Carol, of course, puts on, she's a colonel, and says, the X-Men are in real trouble now, and it's mostly my fault. And of course, this is Mystique, who works for the government, and she recognizes her. And so she grabs the gun and puts it in her pocket here. This is, of course, Raven Darkholm, which is her civilian identity. Love the screen tones being used. And here's Storm carrying Wolverine here. Storm doubts that Rogue was there on her own. It just seems suspicious, but Rogue appears here, and Storm calls out for Nightcrawler. And so Nightcrawler must have just teleported. They didn't show the BAMF thing, but he grabs Rogue and tosses her. And she's sort of acting like Wolverine. Even calls him Bub. And she goes after him, but then, of course, he disappears out of the way. Nightcrawler says, you're going to have to do better than that. And Wolverine starts coming too. He's got a head. And Rogue's like, I did it once, I can do it again. And Wolverine says, you can try, babe, but this time I'm ready for you. And he doesn't have superpowers. I mean, super strength, but just this nice little punch here that sends her across the room. Of course, Miss Marvel is going to, or Carol Danvers, or Captain Marvel in the future, whatever you want to call her, soon to be binary, which is actually really cool. I love that costume. So she's gonna continue to do what the plan was. Of course, here comes Mystique, and she changes into Nick Fury. Mystique suspects, she's like, hey, she's going into Central Computer. So she takes, you can see, she takes the disc here and changes into Nick Fury because she doesn't want to compromise. So we go back here, and the X-Men are still fighting Rogue. And of course, she grabs Storm by the hand, and she is able to absorb physically. So you have to, when her skin touches another she absorbs their powers and memories temporarily, but with Miss Marvel, she ended up doing it. And so Rogue can't control it. So she's creating chaos here. And so here we see Mystique, and she says, Fury, but why the gun? And he says, why, to kill you, of course, and shoots her. Most likely kind of dazing her because apparently doesn't have good aim. So why did she? Okay, and I know that they do it for other things, but her plan was to kill her. She didn't really need to change, but of course, because she fails, so she doesn't want that to come out. But she really didn't have to change because she was planning on killing her. So, all right, so she thinks she killed her. We all know she didn't kill her because, hey, it's Captain Marvel in the future, so obviously she's not dead. And so, Wolverine, the Rogue and the X-Men continue fighting because during this time, of course, Rogue is not a member of the X-Men yet. And here you can see Storm using her cape to avoid getting touched, and here comes Wolverine here, and he grabs her. And so Rogue says, "This is the best you can do, sugar." And Wolverine says, "You're a tough little cookie, ain't ya, Rogue? Well, if a right cross to the jaw won't do the trick, well, let's see what happens when I hit some critical neural pressure points." And she goes, "Sorry, Runt, with me, one shot is all you get." And so here we go now to Mystique heading toward Miss Marvel. And she was not, of course, she was playing possum and kicks him. And she says, "Thank goodness for my extraordinary reflex," because that's how she dodged the bullet. And of course, she hits Nick, but she ends up transforming into Storm. So now she knows that something's up with it. Carol says she may look like Storm, but she doesn't have her powers. That was a mistake. So, of course, once she knocks her unconscious, she sees that it is Mystique. She says, "You sent Rogue after me in San Francisco. If not for you, I'd still be whole. You owe me, Mystique, and you're going to pay with your life," she says. So Rogue's kind of telling the X-Men, she still feels good. You guys can't beat me. And you can see Storm using her powers here. She's going to create like a tornado and whisk her away. So she says, "My whirlwind won't hold her long. I suggest we not be here when she returns." "What about Carol and the mission?" says Wolverine. "This place is crawling with security forces. Battered, we're outnumbered. We dare not risk a battle with them or Rogue. I'm sorry, Wolverine. All we can do is flee." So, of course, they get Mystique here. Mystique says, "You should have killed me. Next time, I will make sure that I kill you," and has them escorted away. Carol says she's not as ruthless as she was, so she couldn't pull the trigger, but she's going to go ahead and do what she was going to do. And in the meantime, she looks at her own files here and erases them as well. So here comes everybody, but she just kind of walks away, sees Nightcrawler, gets in the car, and here we're just going to read the last two panels here. "It's good to see you. You're all right. I know Rogue's capabilities. I figured you'd have a fight on your hands." And Wolverine says, "No sweat, Carol. We showed that kid a surprise or two." And Storm says, "And what about the mission?" And Carol says, "Everything's taken care of. Officially, as far as the Federal Computer Network is concerned, the X-Men have ceased to exist." Nightcrawler says, "Wunderbar," which is wonderful. "My sentiments exactly. And they are too, in a way. Today, I finally laid my ghost to rest. I'm free to begin my life anew. I don't know where I'll end up, but I'll lay odds it'll be an interesting trip." And you can see her in yellow, which I think it should have been another color. It really kind of blends with the background. Next issue, Dracula. By the way, that is done by Bill Sienkiewicz, so that'll be tomorrow's video. So, and if you guys wonder why Chris Claremont is so obsessed with Carol Danvers, it's because she was writing Miss Marvel during a time, but the Miss Marvel got canceled. So, all right, Uncanny X-Men 158. Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and Bob Wyacek. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening so much. Have a great day. Goodbye.